So what happens next? There's a lot to look at. A lot's been happening, but we do need to kind of unravel it. I think there's more red to come. We've already seen that over the last few weeks. We've had 7 consecutive red candles on BTC, and the other markets don't look very good neither. There's a lot of things happening. So we need to be careful. So I'm going to say this now before you forget. Caution, right? Don't be investing balls deep just yet. I don't think it's a time. If you do find the monthly level and you're happy to accumulate, maybe look at a little bit, but always bear in mind it might go lower. So just have that in mind. Anyways, let's go. So on the screen, we've got to look at Seeking Alpha, what is happening with the futures market. Right now, currently, it's not too bad. However, it is a Monday, and they're usually a bit topsy-turvy anyway. So apart from last week on a Monday, we were pretty red for a significant part. But there's a lot of things happening that we do need to talk about. And we've got stuff like this, recession. Words have been bounded around. Whether that is a good thing or not, I don't know. But remember, cryptocurrency has never had a recession. You've also got to look at McDonald's have announced their exit from Russia. Talking about a big company there. But the main thing I want to talk about is potentially this. Russia has told Finland and Sweden that their decision to join the NATO military alliance is a serious mistake. Now, I don't want to create too much fear because I know people moan about that, but that to me sounds like a threat. And that to me could yield, in my opinion, a potential market problem if said actions will bring some consequences, let's just say. Don't know what that means, don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they are in the heat of that element, right? And you can see on that little bit of data there in terms of a map of countries that have now became a part of NATO and stuff like that, and the alliance around that. Also, EU memberships and all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff around politics is going to cause a bit of a bearing on what the markets do. So, watch this space is all I'm going to say. Now, I don't know how much that's going to affect certain things, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Certainly if you think about how it could happen. So, give it time. Another thing we need to talk about is, for obvious reasons, this as well, because that's going to lead to a global panic, and global growth is a bit of a problem. We've already talked about the word of recession. We've already talked about certain things. Now, a lot of people are comparing this market to 2020. It isn't, nowhere near. So just be careful with that. But we've got to look at the element here. Now, this to me is interesting. Now, I've often said this. Sometimes the media will give you an article or a snippet of information designed to create fear. That to me is an element of creating fear by utilizing the words of recession and potential drop-ins to certain places. Yes, it's opening the market. People might counter-trend that. But if you've ever watched The Big Short on Netflix or whatever it's on these days, highly suggest you watch it. It's great. You understand the market psychology of that and why people's opinions can form a basis, which is why I've got the opinion that we're in a bear market. We're going to start seeing further losses. And for me, this kind of gives me that little bit of, not so much confirmation, but other people are looking at other things in terms of the growth of their countries, right? America's growth, it has grown since 2020, since COVID, because things have came back up, but they're nowhere near the levels that they were. Rising energy prices, inflation going through the roof, quantitative easing, quantitative tightening, and all that kind of elements around that as well is pretty mental if you read up about it. And obviously what's happening in cryptocurrency space. We've lost one of the biggest ecosystems what was out there. It's a big problem, right? So we need to look at that. But talk about Luna. As I was talking about certain things just then, about panic and global recessions, one of the biggest lab company, whatever you want to know it as, had a lot of reserves in cryptocurrency, as you can see via that tweet. A lot. We're not talking about small change here. We're talking a lot here. We need to be careful with certain things. Certainly when I look at the bearish outcome of everything, and I know it's proper pessimistic, but when I see Michael Saylor buying it every single time, on margin, by the way, and remember, if he has to keep buying lower and he does get liquidated, imagine if he gets liquidated off the loan. Wow, mental. That will create a big problem, right? Big problem. As has this already, right? We've seen that very, very clear. So it had 80,000 BTC. They've sold 80,000, basically, and they've sold a lot of other stuff as well to try and keep this peg, and the peg hasn't kept. Ooh, not good, right? So the result of it is, as of now, we now have this. Not a lot. That is a problem. So in terms of the space to grow, ooh, we need to stop certain things like this happening. So yeah, do your research, boys and girls. Anyways, the market. Let's have a little look at what is happening on the charts. Okay, so first thing we need to talk about is obviously these red, in my case blue, candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Basically 8. I know one of them is essentially a neutral candle, but in terms of all this, ooh, we've never had this before. We've never had this. This is history, right? And I know it's a negative history, but it's a problem. There's huge volatility at the minute. I don't think there's a bottom in yet. Personally, I think this is not been tested. I like to see a test first and see. As you can see with this, it's been tested numerous times, then it went back up. It was tested again, went back up. We've only had one little wiki wick woo woo down here, right? And yeah, you may say it's like the bottom wick or the capitulation wick, whatever you want to know it as. But for me, we're probably going to go down there again. Sorry, guys, but I would feel much more confident in the analysis that I'm looking at if that has a trampoline bounce again. But we've got to look at other things as well, right? As much as this weekly time frame looks horrible, we are going to probably pull up, and we already have. You can see that on the weekly. If we go to the daily, you can see that we have pulled up and we've rejected. This is why I was like, I'm not buying anything. I'm not trading anything. I can happily sit and wait because there's too much. From this low to this high, it was like a 32% move or something stupid, I think. Can't remember. Let me just double check. Either 23 or 32. 23%. So 23% move on BTC. You can imagine what happened on altcoins. I was buying some dip on Thursday. If you want to follow me, Patreon, I do a journal of everything that I do. And I sold it the following day because I thought a 34% gain on Polkadot, 23% on Glimmer, and some RSI was like 30% as well. I thought, you know what? I'm going to take my money and just chill out because it was my birthday yesterday and I wanted to chill out this weekend and I did that. I didn't want to worry about certain things on the chart or whatever marketing kind of bullshit was going on around to try and propaganda us into doing something stupid. And I was glad I did that, and I put a full diagram and image of how I did it and why I took profits and what I was looking at, because it's important to kind of make that conscious decision. I mentioned it before as well in learning crypto. Your number percentage of what you're gaining on any sort of entry will try and force you into a move, and you've got to look at the chart and think, do I take profits here? Is a 33% gain in a matter of 12 hours too much? Most time, yes. On a volatility bounce like that on a spot. So you've got to be careful with what you do with your money because you don't want to have that dip that keeps on dipping. And you've seen it before in volatility periods like this where you may think is rosy for a bit and then all of a sudden over time it goes down. You've just been complacent thinking, that's an all right order. But sometimes it goes a lot lower. And this what brings me on to the final bit of this kind of element of what happens next. Well, the order books will be pretty thin up here, I think. And I personally think, this is my personal opinion, not financial advice in any way, that panic is going to create people to sell as it goes up, right? Basically, into resistance, they're going to sell. And the reason why I say that is because I think there's a lot of working parts going on at the minute, which I think not many people are accounting for. Potential recession. You know, I don't have to show you what the NASDAQ chart looks like. You know, when we zoom out on this bad boy, that is the clearest of downtrend charts you're ever going to see in your life. You know, the DJI, as another example. We are creating new lows, right? I'm not just talking out my ass here. I'm genuinely giving you some interest. We've got to look at the dollar. The dollar is going, bang! It's gone on it. So you've got to look at that. So it's all reflected in the way the markets are behaving. We're going down, right? So when we look at that, this is the total market cap. I know. I covered this a while ago. I said we were going to go here, and we've literally just tapped it right on the nose. Went right on the button. Amazing. It's amazing what lines can do on each chart sometimes. Not to blow my horn too much, but when we then go back into the 2018 bear market, right? The blow off top, pulled up, bang, pulled down again, bang. Every single time we're going up, we're selling off. I think we're going to repeat this, personally. Now, I mentioned it on a video, what, two weeks ago now, give or take. I was saying we're about 2 or 3 weeks out, give or take the time period. We're looking pretty good right now, in my opinion, for this just to continue. And yes, I know people be like, oh, that looks pretty good. But I would rather know where we're going than not know, right? That's like anything. Imagine going on a day trip and someone tells you, I'm not going to tell you where we're going, but you'll like it. Some people don't like that. I don't like that in the market, definitely not. I'd rather know roughly where I'm going. Now, the problem we've got is, and I will say this right now, every single up move, everyone will get really bullish. Like last night, as per my tweet, that I kind of went, "There's not the territory to buy here. It's going to be burn season, essentially." And yes, that materialized. But ultimately, we've got to look at all of these little rallies. If we're going to get a repeat performance because of fear and recession issues and selling off some big people and reserves because they've got paper hands, we've got a problem. And every single time we will go up, they'll sell. And that is where us, well, not us, we're good. We're good around here. Other people's channels will become exit liquidity. And that is where the problem is. Anyways, job's a good one. I hope you're well. And yeah, back on Friday.